Hey, everybody. Welcome to another great CEO podcast. I'm here with Clint Rusch from North Point Logistics. Welcome, Clint.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Hey, maybe we could just start with in a few sentences, if you could tell us who you are and a little bit about your company as well.
Yeah, happy to, Jim. So, who am I? Grew up in Minnesota, went to college at Wisconsin, spent 8 years in the Army, spent some time in management consulting, some time in healthcare, which I realize is a weird thing to say, kind of a weird background for somebody who works in logistics. But when I first got out of the Army, really got bit by the logistics bug and found my way into that business, and thrilled to find my way back to that industry. So, live here in Kansas City with my wife and my two kids. Which keeps me incredibly busy. A little bit about us. North Point Logistics is a full service, values based freight forwarder, freight broker, and customs broker. So those are three things that sound very similar, but they're three very different service lines. And ultimately, what it means is, for any of our clients, whatever they need for transportation needs, we can do it under our roof. So whether that's domestic, whether that's international, or whether it's crossing borders, we can do it all.
Got it. So there's like 10,000 people that do what you do. Now, maybe it's 1,000, but there's lots, right?
That's not far off.
That's about right on 10,000. So why do people do business with you guys? I mean, what's your competitive advantage in a very crowded market space?
Yeah, it's an incredibly crowded, incredibly fractured market. I think we found a niche in a couple of areas. Ultimately, when people choose to do business with a freight forwarder, freight broker, really any kind of outsourced logistics provider, it's based on trust, because the supply chain has become, it's not the guy at the end of the hall anymore, right? That it used to be, and now it's become a real it's become a part of every organization, right? It's their differentiating factor. And so for us, it's really about, can we connect with our clients on a very human level? Can we connect with our clients and understand their business in a way that other folks can't? And what we've done intentionally is pursue a staff that has a lot of experience outside of logistics.
Oh, interesting.
And that seems like a very counterintuitive thing at first. And then you start to realize that the post-COVID era is really about solving problems. Yep. It's about finding new ways to do things. And people with a broad breadth of experience are really good at seeing new innovative solutions to problems that they haven't confronted before.
Interesting. And you're asset light, right?
We're asset light. We don't own any of it. It's pure intermediary play.
Got it. We actually support that. When we talk to CEOs, we go, look, innovation isn't going to come from inside your industry. Absolutely. I got a 30-year logistics person. No way. But if I bring a group of people that think about the problem differently, I got a shot at an innovative idea.
That's exactly what it is. That's entirely the thesis. We talk about the idea that anybody who says they've got more than 2 or 3 years of experience in this industry is just lying, because it didn't exist. Like the world didn't exist this way 3 years ago. Right? It was COVID really changed the way we operate. And so somebody who's got, to your point, that 30-year experience, right, that you mentioned, Jim, is that person really has 27 years of experience in an industry that doesn't exist anymore. Right. And then 3 years of experience in ours. They're tied with somebody who started 3 years ago. And I would actually argue that person who's got that 27 years of anchoring to something that doesn't exist anymore, that can almost be an anchor, right? Yeah. It can almost hold them back. And so our folks that do have that experience, they're really good at, and I commend them for it. They're really good at being able to say, listen, this is how we used to do it. I don't know if that's going to work anymore. Like, let's think about things in a different way.
Very cool. So what percentage of the revenue recurs every year? We're almost at January 1st, how much of the revenue is sort of in the box, locked down going into next year, or is it all as we go?
So it's very as you go. One of the things about this industry is, you're only as good as your last shipment, and that's a tough world to live in. Yeah. But I tend to look at it more as something that's very invigorating, which is to say that every morning you wake up, you got to go earn your client's business, right? And that's for a company that is as growth focused as we are and has been as successful and growing as we have been. I think that's a really good, it's gasoline on the fire, right? This idea that you got to wake up and hustle every day.
Well, I always say if it's easy for people to switch out, it's also easy for them to switch in from competition. So, it's a level playing field in that regard. So
It's a level playing field. Yeah,
yeah, interesting.
absolutely. Now, one of the
So
advantages we have is having both domestic and international transportation, right? So there's a lot of companies out there that have one and sub the other out, or have the
Yeah.
other and sub the first out. We've got both under our roof. And so it's a lot easier for our clients to be able to say, look, I just trust you to handle this,
Yeah.
right? I don't need to worry about, is this going here? Is this going there? Is it coming in? Is it going out? Just you guys deal with it. That's a tremendous advantage for us.
it does limit the target client base, but if they look like that, right, then they're perfect for you and not perfect for a lot of other people.
You got it. You got it.
So usually in a business, there's a point of constraint, call it a kink in the hose that stops it from performing at maximum revenue growth, profit, whatever you're after. What's the kink in the hose in your business? What's the one thing you would, if I could change just one thing about my business, it would be a massively better business than it is today?
I think that there's an internal kink and there's an external kink. The external kink is, we're levered to the economy, right? And that's if people aren't moving stuff, we can't create a market for them to do that, right? We truly are dependent upon, the global economy needing to move things. And so as we start to see slowdowns, as we start to see, the labor unrest that we're seeing in the market today, we're seeing a lot of turbulence in pricing. Those things become immediate headwinds for us, and there's just no way to get around them. Now, to some extent, look, that's market wide. It's not just us.
Right.
Internally, I think the kink, and this is I imagine you hear this a lot, right? It's the absence of time. It's just a matter of, we're running the right plays, but as a company that's growing as fast as we are, one of the challenges is, if we don't solve a problem today, tomorrow there's a new problem that shows up, and yesterday's problem is still with us, right? And so it's really about, how do we make those decisions faster? How do we execute more effectively? And I generally look at that as we have the right play, we just need to run it faster.
Got it. Interesting. But there are limits. I mean, humans can only go so fast. That game runs out of scaling capability at some point.
It does. Yeah. And I think, our focus on technology is, there are a lot of companies that want to take a completely technological approach to what we do and say, let's just automate it all. And I think the challenge with that is, you can automate the easy stuff. But the hard stuff requires human intervention, because it requires discretionary thought. And unfortunately, when a shipment comes in, there's no flag called "this is easy" or "this is hard," right? You only figure it out once it's moving. So what we look at is really, how do we improve the technology to allow our people to have more, when they do recognize that something is automated, it's just easy to make it work. Right. We don't want to engineer the person out of it. What we want to do is we want to create more value for the person in their decision-making cycle.
There's a figure of merit called, this is in the insurance industry. They call it the auto adjudication rate.
Okay.
In other words, what percentage of the stuff that shows up gets automatically handled versus what percentage needs human. So it limits the humans to the really hard, hopefully complicated stuff, and all the rest gets handled by the automation. And over time, you want to sort of tick that percentage up, so it's only 10%, 7%, 5%, the most difficult stuff, right?
That makes a lot of sense.
So how many hours a week do you work nowadays?
How many hours a week do I work? 60 or 70 probably.
Okay, that's not bad. Can you name one major responsibility you delegated in the last 6 months? You said, hey, it's off my desk, I'm not doing it anymore.
One major responsibility I've delegated in the last 6 months. Our customs leadership is something that I used to be involved in, and we've brought somebody on who really leads that part of the business. I wasn't heavily involved in it because I don't have my customs brokerage license, and it's more, from a business standpoint. But now I'm at a point where that guy just runs 100 miles an hour, and we just trust him to execute it.
Nice.
Which is fantastic. It's great to have like one service line, just here you go, right?
Yeah, done, off my desk. Yeah, that's great.
Exactly.
And
so
you
we've
have
got
to,
somebody sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you have to continually do that as a CEO, or you, like you said, the problem of yesterday is still on my desk. If you don't start moving them off, you can't be a full CEO anymore.
Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, we've got somebody who runs our international operations. We've got somebody who runs our domestic operations, and then customs was something within our international, but we just didn't have the business mindset around customs. And so we had the technical mindset, which is fantastic, but now
Right.
we've added somebody who can bring that business lens, and it's really been transformative for our company.
Perfect. That's great. And then maybe just one or two things you've learned over the last few years that are central to your CEO, your philosophy as a CEO, sort of how you think about running the business. Give me one or two of, like, the Clint-isms, if you will.
Clint-isms?
Here's how we do things.
Yeah, my team certainly makes fun of me for the Clintisms, so there's no shortage of them. But I'll give you the ones that aren't the platitudes, right? The one like a fair is a place you go to get a funnel cake.
Yeah.
Probably isn't what you're looking for. But no, I think in terms of the things I've learned,
I may steal that one.
It's one of my favorites. When somebody says it's not fair, I tell them that's a place you go to get a funnel cake. I think that the two things that I've learned that are most important, number one is that everybody says it's important to hire good people, right? It's important to hire good people, and they're just all wrong. Every one of those people is wrong. It's not important to hire good people. It's indispensable to hire good people. Like it's not something where you go, this is sort of an important thing. No, that's the only job, right? If you don't have people around you who you can trust, like to your point of being, you got to be able to hand that stuff off, right? Otherwise, it piles up. And I have found that hiring good people is a lot easier than I think we think it is. It's harder because we make it harder on ourselves because we don't like saying that's not a good person. Right. But our gut tells us, we know that. You go to a party and you meet somebody 5 minutes after you've had the conversation with them, you go, I don't want to talk to that person anymore.
Yeah, right.
And because it's a social interaction, you're totally fine making that call. When it's a professional interaction, you go, well, that person's really working hard. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. It's not the right fit. So I think that's the first one. The second one is, I think the focus on decision making and the way in which we make decisions is incredibly impactful. When there's a two-way door to a decision, when a decision can be made and then reversed, I think people I know I have historically spent entirely too much time deliberating on those decisions. But if it's reversible, the cost of waiting is so much higher than the cost of getting it wrong.
Yeah.
And being able to understand that balance between time and precision. I'm a big believer in Colin Powell's 40-70 rule, right? That all good decisions are made with between 40 and 70% of the information. And I think, one of the things that I've started to learn and gotten, I think, a little bit better at is being able to recognize that two-way decisions are probably closer to the 40 and one way are probably closer to the 70. And being more comfortable with spacing those decisions out, that's been a big impact for me.
Well, that's great stuff. That's really great stuff. I wrote an article about all you need is 70% of the information to make a decision, but that idea of one way, two way is really, that's a nice addition to it. Last question. What do you do for fun?
I play a lot of golf, and I chase my kids around, and I think the first one is certainly more maddening than the second, but no, the truth is, when it comes to what do I do for fun, I actually think that work is a big part of it. I do enjoy what I do, and I do love the people that I do it with, and so I enjoy, like a lot of people dread Sunday evenings, and I'm excited about it because Monday morning is fun. It's an opportunity to attack the week and get to do some really exciting things with people that I enjoy being with. That said, like, I think, perspective is incredibly important, and getting away from the office matters. And so, when I can find time for 18 holes, or when I can, put some hamburgers on the grill with my son, or spend a little time playing with my daughter, like those are the things that really invigorate me. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Clint, this was phenomenal. I really appreciate your time. This was a great conversation, and I wish you good luck going forward.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. No doubt.